All right, joining me right now to discuss, CNN political commentators Alice Stewart, a Republican strategist, and Maria Cardona, a Democratic strategist. Good to see both of you ladies this morning. Alice, you first. I mean, why is it thus far neither Scalise nor Jordan seem to be able to garner the 217 votes needed in order to become Speaker?
Because there's such tremendous infighting in the House GOP. And Fred, seeing the atrocities and the death we're seeing in Israel, it is shameful that there's such caucus infighting with Republicans. And those I speak with should be ashamed of themselves, and many of them are quite frankly embarrassed. But at the end of the day, here we are just a couple hours from this vote this morning, and they say they're still stuck at neutral. The truck is stuck in the mud, and it's not really going anywhere. And the only thing that might help move things along this morning is we have this current race between Steve Scalise and Jim Jordan. Steve Scalise has a very silent group of support. Jim Jordan is a very vocal hardliners out there saying that he has the votes. But since this is a secret vote, we could see more movement in this because people don't have to put their names on the line where they are. But the sticking point will be Chip Roy wants to put forth a motion that would require 217 votes. And if that were to happen, that would prolong this behind closed doors meeting. And the overall goal is to get as much of this as they can get signed, sealed, and delivered behind closed doors and avoid this public food fight that they had back in January when McCarthy was voted in. But I don't expect we're going to get any quick answers out of them this morning or even today or maybe tomorrow.
Maria, Democrats have said, we want to see the Republicans pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. But what role do you see Democrats, the Democratic leadership playing in these secretive votes?
Well, I don't think they have any role in the secretive vote. As you know, Democrats had their own gathering as well, and they've already nominated who they would like to see as Speaker, and that's Hakeem Jeffries. Obviously, they don't think that that's going to happen because they don't think any Republicans would come over and support Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker, though that would be the smart thing to do at this point. Alice is right. The Republican Party is in a debacle. They should be embarrassed. It's embarrassing on a global scale, especially given what's going on in Israel and the Gaza Strip, and the fact that we're going to have to pass some kind of package to help Israel, and that's not going to happen until the Republicans can get their act together. And so Democrats have already offered to help Republicans if they come over and agree to some sort of bipartisan governing coalition with the Democrats. It doesn't mean that Hakeem Jeffries has to be Speaker, but it does mean that Republicans would have to agree to some rules to share the governing of the House of Representatives, which frankly, I think would be the best thing for Americans right now, because the Republican Party has only proven that they have no interest and frankly no idea how to govern. Right now, the Republican conference in the House of Representatives is very much equal to a failed state, and Americans deserve better.
So, Alice, you mentioned many Republicans are very embarrassed to be in this predicament. So is there a real chance of this kind of shared governing, that Maria mentioned here, that some Republicans are on board to even consider, especially since nothing really can get done in terms of any additional funding, whether it be for Ukraine or for Israel, let alone come together to work out a spending package without a House Speaker?
There's no incentive or talk of shared governing at this beginning of this fight, which is to elect a speaker. Obviously, there's unanimity with regard to support for Israel, and that needs to take a top priority. But there's also the wild card that Kevin McCarthy could interject himself back in the mix here. Of course, he was recently outed by the hardliners, Matt Gaetz and the Crazy Eight part of the caucus. McCarthy is still working behind the scenes and possibly trying to cobble together support for him to get back in as Speaker. That would mean he having to make more deals, obviously, with the very people that ousted him. But in terms of getting a next Speaker, it's all up to Republicans. It's to Republicans to finally work together to find someone who can lead them in the right direction. And then when it comes to the important things, the top priority things that they should be focusing on, like passing a budget and support for Israel, as well as Ukraine and border security, then that's when the hard work of working across the aisle begins. We shouldn't be fighting amongst ourselves. the real negotiation should be with Democrats. And unfortunately, we're very far from that.
And so, Maria, if a new speaker does emerge today, what is the commitment of Democrats working with Republicans?
Democrats have said from the very beginning, Fred, that they are absolutely willing to work with a speaker who has common sense, who has courageous leadership, because frankly, the reason why I don't think a speaker is going to emerge today, hopefully they will, but it's because no one has been able to confront the extremism that has taken hold within the Republican Party. That's why McCarthy is no longer speaker. He had to go into a corrupt bargain to be able to have the gavel back in January after 15 ridiculous votes. And who knows what kind of deal the current candidates for speaker are going to have to cut in order to get the extreme MAGA folks of their party to be able to support them. Now, Matt Gaetz has said that he would support either Scalise or Jordan, but who knows? We all know Matt Gaetz can't really be trusted, can't be taken at his word, and I think that's the problem. There's no trust there within the Republican conference, and there's certainly no trust right now between Republicans and Democrats because McCarthy was the one who originally broke his word. And so if there is a speaker that emerges that is willing to work with the Democrats across the aisle, Democrats are there, they are at the table, they are ready to welcome that person, but it's got to be in good faith.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Ladies, thank you so much. Maria Cardona, Alice Stewart. Great to see you.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.